Hello everyone, welcome to Diana webinar. My name is Jean-Claude Boruel. Today I'm going to give you a short presentation followed by a live demo about modeling capability of Diana 10.3 regarding dynamic analysis. As usual for these sessions, I will start with a short presentation, then it will be followed by a case that we model, where we do the modeling and the analysis setup and looking at the result all together. But first, I start with a short presentation. So, as you may know, already know, dynamics is a branch of physics concerned with the study of forces and their effect on motion. The famous Isaac Newton has defined the fundamental physical laws which govern dynamics in physics, especially the second law of motion, F equal m times a. This law says that the vector sum of the force mf on an object is equal to the mass m of that object multiplied by the acceleration vector of this object. The generic form of the governing equation of motion is given here and expressed as follows. For, as you can see on top, for a linear dynamic finite element system, this equation becomes m times second derivative of u plus c times derivative of u plus k times u equal f, where m is the mass matrix, c is the damping matrix, and k is the stiffness matrix of the finite element system. Ft is the right-hand side vector of forcing functions, and the second derivative of u is the velocity, the first derivative is the acceleration, and u the displacement vector. And here below is the nonlinear form of this equation. Now, where to use this dynamic analysis? Some typical cases of application is for earthquake, wind loads, take into account the water wave, or explosions, or can be an impact load, or also the vibration induced by traffic, like in the case of a train, for instance, rotating machinery, or also pile driving. These are some of the common cases where dynamic analysis is used. In Diana, you can perform different dynamic analysis types, like free vibration eigenvalue analysis, which will give you the Rn mode and the Rn frequencies, pushover analysis, which is a static, response spectrum analysis, also called the RSA, frequency response analysis, FRA, can be modal or direct, two methods, and we will see that in the next slides. It can be transient dynamic analysis, time history, and the hybrid frequency time domain analysis, HFTD. In today's presentation and demo, we will basically use free vibration, eigenvalue analysis, the frequency response, modal and direct, and the response spectrum analysis. So we will focus on these ones. The free vibration eigenvalue analysis consists in solving the free vibration equations expressed as follows. So k times phi equal square omega times m times phi, where k is a symmetric stiffness matrix and m is the mass matrix of the finite element model, and the omega square is the eigenvalue and phi is the corresponding mode shape vector. Frequency response analysis predicts the linear response of a system subjected to a continuous series of harmonic excitations. When the loading is a deterministic frequency content, a steady-state linear dynamic analysis may be performed. Steady-state response is given as a frequency sweeps through a specific range of frequencies. The analysis results are given in terms of amplitude and phase angles. The equation of motion can be expressed as follows here, leading to u equal h times f. The term h is called response function and is a Fourier transformation of the response matrix. There are two methods to solve the equation of motion, an indirect method based on mode superposition, the so-called modal frequency response analysis in Diana, and a direct method, which is a direct frequency response analysis in Diana. The modal frequency response method may be employed providing the system of equation is linear. That is to say that the K, M, and C matrix remain constant during the response. The response will be found by superposition of the response in each mode. If the dumping matrix C is not orthogonal, a direct solution is more suitable. The direct frequency response requires the solution of a complex system of equations for every excitation frequency, which can be time-consuming in terms of computation, or which can be consuming in time computing. So for more detail about the background theory of all this analysis, I advise you to refer to our online documentation. I don't want to dive into too much detail today. I want to keep it at the basic level. The response spectrum analysis predicts the linear response of a system subjected to a base excitation spectrum. The results of the response spectrum analysis are given in terms of individual and combined modal forces. The implementation we have in Diana is based on the work of Gupta, assumes that the contribution of damping is negligible and that the base acceleration spectrum have a working direction I, giving the following system of equation, which you can see here, where E is I is the contribution of the degrees of freedom in the working direction of the excitation. The response spectrum analysis is based upon the mode superposition principle. The combined response spectrum of the model for all selected modes is generically according to different rules. We have the absolute sum rules, ABS, the standard complete quadratic combination rule, the CQC, the alternative complete quadratic combination with absolute superposition terms, the CQC ABS rule, and the square root of sum of squares, the SRS rule. And in today's demo, we will use the ABS and the SRSS in our third analysis. So having said that, let's get back to our today's demo. And let's say a few words about the model itself. So the model represents a 5-story building, as shown on the figure. The dimension of the cross-section for floor and wall are small in comparison to the length of the building. Therefore, we may assume a plane strain situation. The building is subjected to base acceleration of 1 meter per square second in the horizontal or x direction. In today's demo, we will perform 3 analyses. The first one will be an eigenvalue analysis followed by a direct response. The second analysis will be an eigenvalue followed by modal response, and we will compare the result of both analyses. And in a third analysis, we will apply an earthquake spectrum and perform a response spectrum analysis. So end of talk. Let's go to the live demo, and for that we need Diana. And as you may already know now, if you are familiar with Diana and our webinar, we first need to start a new project. So you give it a name, 5-story live demo. I go to my working directory where I'm going to save my files. E-learning, earthquake, yes. So for the analysis type, I choose structural. For the dimension, as I mentioned, we can make a plane strain assumption. For the model size, as you hopefully already know now, if you follow on a regular basis of webinars, this is the dimension of your modeling box. So you should choose a size and make sure that your model can be fit in it. So for today, I'm going to use 100 meter. I go for quadratic and on shape, and I click OK. In terms of units, today we are going to use millimeter, ton for the mass, Newton, second, Kelvin, and radian. So we are ready to start. So I will first start by building the wall of my model and then the floors. So to do that, I'm just going to define the line. First one, I will create the left wall, which will be 0, 0 as a starting point, and 0, 0. Create a center. This is my left wall. I do the same for the right one, which then will be starting in 10,000, and here we go. These are my 2 walls. I now need to define the floor. I start with floor 1, which will be in 0, 2, 7, 0, 0. and click create. I could repeat the same procedure for floor 2, 3, and 4, and 5, but I want to use the copy function, which make my life a little bit easier. So I just need to select the floor 1, then I need to specify my offset, and I'm going to copy this one 4 times, and I click on apply. And if I go to the geometry tree under the shapes, now you can see that I have my left wall, right wall, and the floor 1 that I've created, and the copy are automatically incremented with a number, so floor 2, 3, 4, and 5. So our geometry is complete. We need now to define some property to our model. The whole model will carry concrete property, but we have to distinguish between the walls and the floor because they have different thickness and they will carry different geometrical property. So I start with the floor. I choose for infinite channels. I'm going to define a concrete material, which is a linear one. Concrete masonry, linear, okay. My Young's modulus is 22,000 Newton per square millimeter, 0.2 and 2.4 minus 9 ton per cubic millimeter. And here I'm going to define the thickness of my floor, which is 400 millimeter. Close, and I create. I repeat the same for the wall. The element class will be the same, the material will be the same, only the geometry property is different. So this is wall thickness, and it will be 150 millimeter. Create. So you see under the different tree, under material you see the concrete material, under geometry you see the different set for the different thickness, and under the geometry you see the different component of our geometry. Next, we need to assign some boundary condition. Basically, the boundary condition for model are we just clamp the two bottom point of our walls. So I'm going to call this clamped feet with the same support set name, and I'm going to use the vertex option to select these two nodes for which I constrain the two rotation and the rotation, and you can see that it's created and it also appears under the geometry tree under support. There it is. I can hide it and show it by just checking out the box. Finally, we need to define our base excitation, which I'm going to call accelerated base. Same set name. It's a base excitation, and I'm going to apply 1000 millimeter per square second in the X direction. Click on create, and again, if I go under load cases, I can see that it's created. We can now go to the mesh of our model, and I need to specify some division. So I'm going to proceed in 2 steps. I'm going to assign 10 division to the floor and 15 division to the wall. So I first select on the floors, and I go for 10 division per edge. You can click on preview so you can see, and it also gives you the direction of the line in case you want to apply a gradient. In our case, it's not really relevant because it's a constant, but at least you know the starting and end point. I click apply. I repeat the same procedure for the left and right wall, and I apply 15. You see that automatically it's updated, and I click apply. And finally, I mesh my model. From this view, you cannot really see the element, so I go to the mesh, I select my different mesh sets, and I go for a shrunken shading And there you can see the different elements, which are also based on the discretization we specified for the mesh seeding. So we are all good. Our model is ready. We can now move to the analysis part. So I'm going to define the first analysis that I'm going to name direct, because it will be based on the direct response. So this analysis will be a structural eigenvalue, and it will be followed by a direct response. So here we have to fine-tune our settings. I will ask for the first 10 modes. And for the frequency, I'm going to ask for frequency from 0 to 10 Hertz with steps of 0.1. And for the output, I'm going to ask for displacement, velocity, and acceleration. And for all of these three output components, I will select the resulting amplitude phase angle, so that the peaks in the amplitude displacement will have a clear representation and be in good agreement with the Rn frequency. So I go to here and check amplitude. I do the same, and the last time here, click OK. So our analysis setup is ready. We can perform our first analysis. From the message box, you can see the progress of your analysis. Okay, analysis is done. And I'm going to scroll up because there are some interesting information there. Basically, the Rn frequencies of the Rn value analysis are basically outputted in the message box. So what can we see from there? That we get the first 10 mode, and the range of this Rn frequency goes from 1 Hertz to roughly 8 Hertz, which is approximately within the frequency of a typical earthquake spectrum. Let's now look at the modes and see which deformation are dominating. So I go to the results part. So this is my first mode. I can see that the wall has deformation are dominating. Same observation for the mode 2 and 3. For mode 4, you can see that the floor deformation are dominating. The same with 5, 6, 7 is a mode where wall deformation are dominating. 8 is, let's call it a dominated mode by floor deformation. The same for 9. And 10 is a mode where the wall deformation are dominating. So we can conclude that mode 1, 2, 3, 7, and 10 are dominated by the deformation of the wall, where the other modes, 4, 5, 6, 8, and 9 are dominated by the deformation of the floor. Let's now have a look at the results of some of these nodes. For the direct response, I go to the first excitation, and I'm going to select two nodes. One here at the corner, at the top corner, so the junction between the wall, left wall, and the top floor, and another one at the connection between the left wall and the third floor. And I'm going to look at the displacement, the horizontal one. So we can observe that we have 5 peaks, which basically correspond to the excitation frequency of the mode dominated by the wall deformation. The main one is around 1 Hertz, which is in good agreement. Let's do the same for 2 nodes of the floor. So I unselect this node and I take a middle node on the top floor and on the third floor, and I look at the Y displacement. So the first thing to note is that the amplitude of this deformation, the displacement is 10 to power minus 11, so very small. We can also see some peaks that also correspond to the frequency of the mode dominated by the floor deformation, but the amplitude is very, very small, and it may vary from different machine. If you rerun the calculation on another machine, you may experience some differences due to this small amplitude. I get back to my first two nodes from the wall, and I look now at the velocity. I observe the peak at the same excitation frequencies as for the displacement. So this is in a kind of good agreement. And finally, I do the same for the acceleration. And I can also observe the same peak at the same RN frequency. So we are now going to perform another analysis, which is a modal response analysis, and we will compare the results of this direct response to the modal response. So I'm going to define a new analysis that I'm going to call modal. So this will be a modal, structural modal response. For the preliminary eigenvalue analysis, I'm going to ask for the first 10 modes, like we did for the direct one. I don't need the output, I know them, it's already something we have checked. And for the frequency response, I'm going to ask again for a range of going from 0 to 10 Hz in step of 0.1. And please note that in this analysis, we use a modal damping of 0.0.1. And then one more thing I want to say, I want to just select the mode which are dominated by the wall deformation, because they are the most, the strongest and the most dominating. So here I put my modes, which are from 1 to 3, so 1 to 3, 7, and 10. So I get rid of the mode dominated by the floors deformation. And for the output, I'm again going to ask for displacement, velocities, and acceleration. But now it's at the real imaginary part. Analysis setup is ready. I can perform the analysis. Analysis is performed. We can see that the Rn value and are the same, going from 0 to 8 Hz. So it's in good agreement. In terms of output, I'm going to plot graph of these two nodes, the corner node and the one connecting the wall to the third floor, and compare that with the direct response. In order to facilitate the discussion, I've already prepared an Excel sheet where I have summarized all these results. And as you can see, if I look at the displacement and I activate all my results, so the node 2 and 5 are basically these two nodes, one at the top corner and the other one at the floor number 3 connecting the wall. And the orange gray are the result of the direct response, where the orange, the reddish blue is the result of the modal. So now if I just look at one node, for instance node 5, you can see that the maximum amplitude are a bit lower for the modal response. So the yellow one is direct, So the model response give amplitude that are a little bit lower. That's also something we observe for the other node. I can show you. You see that the gray one is direct and the blue one is mode, so it's go down and up. This can be explained by the fact that there is a contribution of the damping, this modal damping, which we specified, and by the fact that we also don't consider the RN mode dominated by the floor deformation. If we look at the velocity, we can see that the same can be observed, except for the peak around the 1 Hertz, where the modal response give actually a higher peak than the direct one. And finally, if we look at the acceleration, then we can see that the maximum amplitude of the acceleration are considerably lower than those obtained via the direct. The gray and yellow orange is the direct, and you can see that it's much higher. So we can conclude that apparently damping and the floor mode affects the acceleration more than the displacement and also the velocity. So this is it for our comparison between the direct and modal response. Let's move now to our third analysis of the day. Before we do the structural response spectrum analysis, we need to adapt a little bit our model. I need to define a typical R-square spectrum and apply it to the model. So to do that, I go to the geometry, I select my load, which is my base acceleration, and I click on Edit Frequency Dependent Factor. And here I'm going to specify my curve, so 0, 0. I need a little bit of typing, it will go fast. So 0.5, 2.2, 1, 4.4, 1.5, 6.6, 1.7, 7.4, 6.7, 7.4, 8, 6.6, 9, 6.2, and finally 10, 5.9. And I click OK, and this is automatically attached to the base acceleration. So to take into account this modification, I need to remesh so that this is transferred to the mesh. And I go to the analysis setup, and I'm defined a third analysis that I'm going to call earthquake analysis. And I add a structural response spectrum. Actually, I had two because I'm going to use two rules, ABS and the SSRS. So the first one I'm going to rename it to it will be based on the ABS rules, the absolute rules, and the second one will be based on the SRSS. So let's move to the setting up. So for the preliminary eigenvalue analysis, I ask for the first 10 modes. For the output, I only focus on the mode dominated by the wall deformation, so 1, 2, 3, 7, and 10. Then for the response spectrum, I just need to specify the output, and it will be based, as we mentioned, on the absolute rule. And we are going to make a selection of results. We ask for the displacement, we ask for the residual force, and we ask for the Cauchy stresses on this. So this is it. Then we need to set up the second block. Here we don't need to evaluate the model, it has been done in the previous one, so we can skip it. Oops, so I can toggle it off. Also the eigenvalue analysis can be toggled off. It's been done in the first block, so I just need to edit the output property. And here it will be based on the SRS rule. And I add the displacement, the residual force, and the stress. And we are done. So the setup of my third analysis is done. I can now perform the analysis. So here the RN frequency, as you can see, we get the same from 1 to 8 something hertz. Move to the result. I'm going to check some mode, which are only the mode dominated by the wall deformation. So mode 1, 2, 3, 7, and 10. Let's now look at the superposed modal displacement, starting with the absolute rule. Here are the results with a maximum displacement of 144 mm. If we look at the SRSS, it gives a little bit lower value. Let's do that also for the residual force, starting with the ABS rule. So it gives a maximum of 141, and for the SRSS, a maximum of 114, so lower value. And finally, we can also do that for the equivalent stresses. Show contour. This is for the absolute rules, giving maximum of 29.45, and the SRS a little bit lower, 24.26. So this is it for today's demo. We have defined a relatively simple model where we have defined a base acceleration, and we have used different analysis types, eigenvalue analysis, direct response, the model response, and in the last one we defined a kind of earthquake signal, and we perform a response spectrum analysis. So we have covered a lot. I'd like to thank you for attending this webinar, and hopefully you will be joining the next one in 2 weeks. So see you soon. Thank you very much.